Shares of Yahoo are taking a big hit in the wake of last night's report. The latest trade is showing Yahoo shares down almost 19% this morning, and their sales were a big problem. They came in at $1.12 billion. It's $20 million shy of what the street was looking for, and that has led to disappointed investors who were hoping that Yahoo will actually benefit more as companies shifted more of their ad spending to the web. And looking ahead, Yahoo forecasts sales of $1.23 billion this quarter. And again, that seemed to be a little bit less than what was anticipated. And that's also contributing to the lower stock price that we're seeing this morning. We've got Susan Decker, the CFO of Yahoo. She's in Sunnyvale, California, joining us this morning. Ms. Decker, you must be obviously watching what's going on in your shares this morning, the biggest drop that we've seen in them in more than 4 years. What can you tell us about what's going on right now?
You know, we just reported a quarter that was right in line with the business outlook that we put out 3 months ago, and we've reiterated our full year numbers, which we put out last January. So we're delivering within the expectations we had. It's clear the market was a little bit ahead of those expectations in terms of how they reacted to it. But we do feel good about what our user growth said and what our overall financial growth is showing.
Well, the market seems to be very disappointed, though, in the delay in the release of the new advertising software. Why was that delayed?
Yeah, so that's the second issue. And I think just to add a little context, there's 4 phases to the development of a major system like this. There's the design phase, coding phase, testing, and then the migration and launch of it. We've just completed a year of the design and coding on schedule, and we moved into the testing phase at the end of May. And in the process of looking at the system, it's very complex. We've had great response from the advertisers if they looked at it. But we feel like we underestimated how much time we need to make sure that there's no stone uncovered, and we've done all the testing we need to do before we go out to commercial launch. So we felt like moving it back a quarter was the right thing to do. We don't manage the company quarter by quarter. And we think this is the best thing to do to have the most successful, high-quality launch for our advertisers and partners.
In May, of course, you outlined the details of that, where you talked about Project Panama to improve your internet search and your software. Why is it that really just a couple of months later that you've already had to say that these improvements will be delayed by a quarter? What specific issues did you run into that 2 months ago you were not aware of?
You know, 2 months ago, we hadn't started the testing and QA process, so we just finished the coding, and we've had a lot of learning in this last 2 months as we've talked with our partners and advertisers, and we just feel that the complexity of the system requires more testing. We're going to do 20,000 different tests. We feel like having the highest quality launch is the most important priority. We're less concerned if it's this quarter or next quarter. We're doing everything we can to get it out as quickly as possible, and the feedback's been terrific.
Is it sort of bugs that you're working out? Is it additions that you're making based on some of the feedback that you got?
It's testing the system on multiple locations, multiple geographies, lots of different scenarios. As you test the system, you get feedback, and then you can alter and tweak it. But it's a process where we probably underestimated what we should have done in terms of full-on QA testing. And then the migration to clients, we're going to have 2 systems running in parallel. And we just want to make sure we have a little more buffer to make sure that it's the most successful launch possible.
I guess the other question is how confident are you that the delay will just be 1 quarter? We've seen, for example, in the case of Microsoft, several times where it's been delay upon delay upon delay as the systems expand and as you get to know more. What confidence can the market have that in another month or in another 2 months, this date will not get pushed out even more?
Well, I think any time that we would make a public disclosure on our timing, we spend a lot of time thinking about that. We did in May, and as I mentioned, we got into this process and we learned more. At this point, we actually think this is we're very confident, based on what we've seen so far, that a 1 quarter delay is what we need to finish the testing and also give us a little more time for migration.
In terms of the numbers, and again, in terms of the drop that we're seeing in the stock this morning, how much do you think that 18% is due to the delay in the ad software versus the disappointment in what the market expected from you to report?
I wouldn't want to speculate on that. I don't know. I think it's the combination of those 2 things, I think, is what's playing out in the market today.
Do you think investors were unfair? Were investors really were the estimates all wrong? The analysts who were covering your stock had it all wrong in terms of the numbers they had?
I don't see this as a fairness issue at all. I think this is life as a public company. There's expectations out there, and every quarter we recalibrate and tell people how we are, and sometimes they're ahead of the expectations, sometimes they're behind. I think this is just a normal cycle in a public company.
How concerned are you, though, as a public company, that your stock is down 18% this morning?
Well, we'd certainly prefer it not to be down, but I think that we can't control that. We really focus on the things that we control, which is delivering and executing to our plan. We were really pleased with our user and usage growth. We're right on track with the business priorities and strategies that we've outlined, and we're going to keep executing to that. And we think the new system will really help us to add growth in future years.
All right, Ms. Decker, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Our thanks to the CFO of Yahoo, Susan Decker.